just sheared another shear bolt right there on one I missed. Give you a little idea what I plan on doing this afternoon. We've had a lot of rain, and it's just kind of kept me from being able to get over here and do what I want to do. But last weekend I started clearing an area on my property, and I'll show it to you here in a second. But basically it's probably about a 25-yard wide swath that is up against my south fence, and it's just been overgrown probably for the last 7 or 8 years. Just kind of continue to overgrow. There's several pretty good sized hedge trees that have grown up in it, and I come through and I cut all those down. And then there was a lot of Cirrus lespedeza, which is a pretty nasty invasive plant that we have here, and so I've mowed that all down, and I'm gonna have to do some extra stuff to probably kill the roots in that. But the idea of what I want to do here is I actually want to come in here and get it all cleaned up, put it in clover, and then also come in and strategically plant fruit trees. I'm not 100% sure on what I'm going to put in there yet, but I'm looking at persimmons, pears, and maybe apples. I'm looking for fruit trees that obviously are something that deer would like to eat, and really I want to put something in here that's going to start producing fruit within the next few years. You can plant an apple tree, but you may be 5 to 7, 10 years before you start to get apples. So there's some ways around it. There's some dwarf trees that you can plant that will produce quicker. You can buy them already, potted, basically, as opposed to just planting little saplings. I know that flagging these probably seems a little bit silly, but if for some reason I don't get over here in time to get everything tilled up and get it planted with our clover, these stumps are going to be just buried in the grass and just run the risk of running over them with a tire or hitting them with my brush hog, whatever the case may be. So I'm just flagging them, putting little flags so I can easily identify them. Ideally, what I'd like to do is find time to come back here and dig up these roots, cut them out. I also forgot to bring it, but I'll come back over here later, is some Tordon. I'm going to put some Tordon all around the edges of these stumps so that they don't grow back. What I'm going to have here, just to kind of give you an idea, I plan on planting probably about, 10-foot wide strip all along the fence line of some sort of cover. Most likely I'll probably just do Egyptian wheat. That's what I've done in the past, and it's a nice screen, and what it'll do is really just kind of shield this open ag field, and then shield my timber from there. So I think they'll feel a little bit more safe and confident. This is what my timber looks like, and when we talk about timber value, there's zero timber value on my property here. I would say that 85% of the trees on here are either hedge or locust, and it's the locust, I think the black, whichever one it is, that is the one with bajillion thorns on it. I don't know if you can see it up there, but that stand right there is the stand that I would call my rut killing stand. I've yet to kill anything out of it, but I've had plenty of good close encounters, and I'm going to kill something good out of it one of these days. Any tree of value that was up here I left. So as you can see right here, I've got an oak tree. I've got another little oak tree right there. I'm not 100% sure what that tree is there, but if it's not a hedge and if it's not a locust, I'm considering it pretty much a tree of value for me. Hedge and locust, I've got plenty. Now, one thing people don't realize, and again, this goes back to, my property and what I've learned from it, because I don't have this wonderful timber where, it's all big oak trees and all that good stuff. I have what I have, right? And so I've got lots and lots of locust trees. Well, one thing that not a lot of people talk about is that these locust trees produce a big long pod, and believe it or not, that's actually pretty good food for the deer, and they eat them a lot. I see them eating them quite frequently. So even though it's a terribly nasty tree with all of its thorns, you can't hang a tree stand in them hardly, even though you have that, it still has some benefit. A hedge tree It produces those lovely hedge apples that are awesome to step on when you're walking in the morning. But squirrels love to eat those. Deer don't really touch them. But what the hedge trees really do, and as you can kind of see just by this tree that I cut down, is they are super thick and super nasty. And because of that, they provide a ton of cover. And the deer really like cover, right? That's one of their number one features of whether or not they're going to use your property is cover. And the hedge trees, even though they're thorny, they grow in bajillion different directions, they are at least going to provide you some cover. So the quality of my timber, while if a timber specialist were to walk through here, he just wouldn't even look twice at it because it's all junk. But for wildlife, it's actually pretty good. So anyway, just kind of wanted to let you see it. Like I said, I'm 90+% all of that junk, hedge and locust. So anytime I find an oak tree, something like that, I'm gonna let it grow. I'm not gonna brush hog it down. Those are valuable to me just because the diversity that they will provide as they grow up, compared to what I have now. And there'll be some sort of an attractant at some point if they ever start dropping acorns. So anyway, I'll get back to it. You make sure you use the right type of shear bolt. What you really want in that instance is if anything's going to break, it needs to be that shear bolt, because if it isn't the shear bolt, it's going to be your gearbox or it's going to be your drive, your PTO drive on your tractor. Quick fix, got a spare, taking it with me. So all right, well, I'm gonna go flag that one that I missed so I don't hit it again. Got the majority of that process done, so I'm about to wrap it up tonight. But what I ended up doing is I flagged all of those stumps. I'm going to come back and try to get those pulled at some point, and then really the next step is going to turn this ground and get some clover in it. It's going to have to dry out a little bit. It's just super soaking right now, so it's going to a week or so before I'll be able to do that. Hopefully we have the weather to allow me to do that. And also, I'm going to look into ordering those trees. I've been studying a little bit to see, persimmon, pear, and apple seem to be the trees that are kind of coming up as good potential. Allow me to also start getting fruit earlier, especially on the pear and the persimmon, if I were to get one that's already in a pot. So that's where we're going with this. Hopefully it will it'll do what I hope it does, and in the next 5 to 10 years I'll have a great little fruit grove here, and that'll attract deer all throughout the hunting season up until push me into the rut, and then I'll already have deer for rut. So anyway, we'll wrap it up for today. Just wanted to kind of give you a little look at what we did here.